As we start, you'll need your protractor and the page that looks like this. It says lesson 7. You can see that clock through the back, but don't worry about that yet. We're just going to look at these angles here. Okay, so we're going to practice measuring angles. Now you can use both protractors and you can get some practice with both, but this is the standard one. That means normal, regular. They both measure the same way. So if I measure an angle and it's 45 degrees on this angle or on this protractor, it should be 45 degrees on this protractor. So practice with both, but use the one that's best for you, that's most comfortable. I'm going to show you with this one for right now. So we're going to look at this very first figure 1 at the angles here. There's multiple angles, but we're going to be measuring angle X, Y, Z. So whatever is in the middle, when we read the angle X, Y, Z, the middle letter will be the vertex, and that's where you'll be measuring. So before we measure it, I want to show you something, explain something on the protractor. So the protractor on this one goes from 0 to 180. Many protractors have 2 sets of numbers, so go from 0 to 180 over here, and then also 0 to 180 over here. The reason is that you'll see in just a minute, like this angle, some angles are moved. So they could still be acute, let's say. This is 90 degrees. This is acute. It's less than 90. But they could be flipped. So depending on which way the vertex and the rays are going would depend on which set of numbers you need. All right, so because ours only has 1 set of numbers, it's fine. We just have to do 2 things. First, this one you should always do because it'll help you determine do you have the right measurement, is you have to decide, is your angle acute or obtuse? Second thing is, I'll show you in just a minute. Okay, so let's look at our angle. Okay, so look on your paper, turn it so you can see the X, Y, Z, and then I want you to go over it with your pencil. I'm going to use the marker so you can see it a little bit better. Trace over it. Okay, so my vertex is right here. I have to use either of the other line segments in there and decide, is this obtuse or acute? Now you have, I believe, you have a circle that you've folded it in 4s, or you could use this, fold it in 4, or to me, it might be just because I've had more practice with it, I just use the straight edge of the protractor. I find where the vertex is, I make a straight line up and down, knowing that that would be my right angle. So, is this angle less than 90 degrees or more than 90 degrees? More is the answer. So we know that this angle is obtuse. So I want you to write obtuse next to it where it says figure 1. Write obtuse. O-B-T-U-S-E. It's obtuse. So when we measure it, we know that it has to be more than 90 degrees. Okay, so in order to measure, first of all, because my protractor is large, what do I have to do to this line? I need to extend it. I need to be able to see it past the protractor. Okay, so go ahead and extend that. On a regular protractor, they're usually plastic and they are clear. So sometimes you don't need to extend it because you can actually see where your line segment or your ray is pointing to. But because these are not clear, we do need to extend it. So you're going to find where that vertex is, and you're going to make sure that the hole is right over the vertex, and then the lines on the side match up with your other side of the angle. Okay? and then the line going up and down, that really should point to the vertex. All right, that helps you get it lined up. All right, so line yours up really neatly, evenly, and then see what degree do you think that our angle is. I'm just trying to make mine stay. When I move it around, it moves a bit. What is that measurement? It's between 40 and 50. It's the line in between, and we know that those lines count by fives. So it's 45 degrees. But we said that our angle is obtuse. So is it reasonable that this is a 45-degree angle, which would be less than 90? No, it's not reasonable, but it doesn't mean we're wrong. What it means is we're using the protractor that only has one set of numbers. This is why a lot of protractors go from 0 to 180 this way and 0 to 180 that way, because our angle is just flipped. Okay, so what we have to do is say, I know that this angle has to be more than 90 degrees, but because I flipped it, it only measured 45 degrees. And there really isn't a way for me to move this around to get it to measure more than 90 degrees. So I know that all the way across, the line is 180 degrees. So you have to do, this is the second step, to do just a little bit of subtraction. I have 180 degrees. I'm going to subtract that measurement of 45 degrees. Okay, so you can just write it. There's some room right here on the side, in the middle there, the side of the lines. Okay, subtract it. Tell me what you get. 135 degrees. When I subtract it from that 180, it gives me the obtuse angle that I need. All right, so this is an extra step, but if you someday use a protractor that has both sets of numbers, then you'll just think, okay, this is obtuse. So it would say right by this 140, or excuse me, this 40, it would say 130. And by the 50, it would say 140. And you would know right in the middle would be 135. And that's how you would have read it. All right. So where our angle is, I want you to draw an arc. An arc, it looks like a partial circle. I'm just connecting each of the rays, and I'm showing that's the angle that I measured, and it's 135 degrees. All right, so let's look at figure 2. We're going to do figure 2 and 3, and then we're going to work on you drawing. All right, so decide. I'm just going to use my pen right there. That would be about a right angle. Is mine less than 90 or more than 90? It's less, so I know it's acute. Okay, so extend your angle so you're sure you can see it with the protractor. Make sure you use your straight edge. That way you get a straight line segment there. Even though mine gets a little crooked, I have to go over it a few different times when I make a mistake like that. Just to extend it, I'm going to put the protractor right on the vertex, line everything up. And what measurement did you get? Go ahead and pause if you need to before you see mine. 45 degrees. All right, this one is actually 45 degrees because we know this is an acute angle. So you're going to write it in there, and they've already given you the arc. All right, I want you to do the last one. Go ahead and pause the video before you see my answers, but you're going to decide, is it acute or obtuse? What's the measurement? And if it's flipped wrong, if your measurement doesn't match you saying it's acute or obtuse, then you'll subtract from 180. Pause the video if you need to, extend the line, and then check back when you're finished. I know that if it was a right angle, that'd be here, and my angle sticks out from there. So I know that it's obtuse. I'm going to write obtuse by it. Okay. And I measure it. line up that vertex. And that protractor can move a little bit if you're not careful. When you're doing it flat down, it makes it a little easier to just line it all up carefully. So it looks like it's going to be about 120 degrees. I don't know how well you can see that number there, but it should match what's on yours. If yours does not match up to that, then just check. Look through this part. Line the vertex up there and look through. Can you see the other part of the ray lined up along here? That's where I get it messed up mostly. Is sometimes it's just off a little bit. All right, we're gonna skip figure 4 for right now. This one uses some subtraction, but it's a little bit different than this one. And I don't want you to get confused because it's just one in all of these, and it's not what we're going to really practice today. So I'm going to make you a different video to practice this so you don't get confused with it. So what I want you to do is go to the problem set. We're going to practice drawing the angles. All right, so this is a lot like measuring, okay, but you're going to you don't always have a ray. For these ones, they gave you a ray to start with. And so one end of the ray has the arrow. So you'll know the other one is your end point. And that's where you're going to put your protractor. And that will become your vertex. All right. So I'm going to show you these. And then on the other side, you'll shut the video off when we're done with these 4, and you will practice drawing angles on the other side, but they're not going to give you the ray. So when they don't give you the ray, you draw that first, okay? So you will, I'll show you on this. We'll practice with those in just a minute with one ray, but when they don't give you the ray, you draw it first, okay? So you give yourself room on your paper, and then I would start right about where this is, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And as you can see on that front side, their rays are not always straight. Some of them move around. When you're drawing them, you can do that, and it gives you a challenge. If it's a little bit hard for you, then just draw them straight, okay? So when you're going to draw the measurement, and you have to do both sides, I just hold this down and draw yourself a straight line, or a straight line segment, okay? And if you want to put the arrow on, you can. That doesn't really matter unless the directions are telling you it has to be a ray. It has to continue on, all right? But if you're just drawing an angle, it doesn't matter. My angles can have segments, endpoints on both, or they could have arrows on one or both. It really does not matter. It doesn't change the measurement. All right. So when you're drawing them, you'll draw that straight ray, and then this will be your vertex, and you'll measure the angle to create it. Okay. So I'll just switch. I can't use my marker on the paper. What you're going to do is you're going to look and decide. This is 30 degrees. So is that going to be an acute angle or an obtuse? It's going to be acute because it's less than 90 degrees. So you're going to write that, acute. A and the word cute, A-C-U-T-E. Okay, so it says 30 degrees. You're going to match this up. Oh, I showed you the wrong side. Match it up. This hole still goes to the vertex there, right at the end point. Okay, can you see how mine is matched up? And then you're going to find 30 degrees on your protractor. Leave it straight there. Mark where 30 degrees is. I'm going to mark it and then I'll show you. I just make a dot, a point. Make it big enough for you to see. Because your line, our line segment will go right through it. So you see how mine is there? It's marked at 30 degrees. Okay, then I take it off and I use the straight edge, and I just am connecting the dots from my end point to the point that I made at 30 degrees. Okay, I'm going to set it down and draw the line segment. I can put an arrow on it, or I don't need to, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to draw the arc and show that's 30 degrees. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing on this one. Is this acute or obtuse? It's a 65-degree angle. It is acute. However, what is different about the rays? They're pointing at each other. They're going the opposite way. So when I measure this, and I know I need an acute angle, I'm trying to line this up for you. I can see where 90 degrees is, and I know it has to go this way. But these numbers are larger than 90. So think what you have to do. I want you to pause the video, think, talk about it with a partner, and then check the video. Turn the video back on to see, do we get the same idea? I'm writing, giving you a second to pause. All right. I know I need 65 degrees. My protractor only goes one way. And because my angle has to be acute, but it's going this way, oops, opposite, sorry. It's going this way, and these numbers are larger than 90. I have to subtract it from 180 to see what measurement do I have to use. So when I subtract, I get 115. That's a very nice 5. But 115 degrees. That's what I need to measure. All right? So it's still going to be acute. It's just that my angle is going the other way. And because my protractor only gives me one set of numbers, now I have to go to 115 degrees. So I see 120, I see 110, oops, I went the wrong way again. And then right in between it, that longer line in between will be 115. Make a point there. And then use your straight edge and connect the dots. Make sure you can see the vertex and the point before you draw the line or the line segment. So you're sure you've connected them. And then I draw the ray there and put, this is 65 degrees. This is not 115 degrees. I just had to use the 115 on the protractor. But I can see that 90 degrees would be here. And is this more or less than 90? It's less. So I know I'm correct. It's 65 degrees. All right. I want you to do the same thing on both of these ones. These ones, the ray is just set differently. They're not straight across. This is 115 degrees. This is 135 degrees. What kind of angles are these? They're obtuse. Okay. So right obtuse. That means you know that coming from the vertex, they have to be going out, going out this way. Coming from the vertex has to go out this way because this is 90 degrees and you have to be able to see that angle outside of it because it's obtuse. This is 90 degrees. You have to be able to see outside of it. So I want you to practice. One of them, you're going to have to subtract from 180. Look at it really quickly. Just set your protractor on them and see which one do I have to subtract from 180. It's number 4. You'll subtract this from 180 because the vertex and the angles are pointing the opposite way, which is going to get you into the numbers that are less than 90. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to draw both of those. I'm going to keep going, but draw both of those, measure it correctly, connect the endpoints, and then turn the video back on to check if yours look similar to mine. Okay? ready? Trying to give you enough time to get to the video and pause it if you need to. All right. So this would be 90. This is 115 degrees. Yours should look similar. Draw the arc and write the measurement in. For this one, because it's going the opposite way, when I use the protractor, it wanted to show me numbers less than 90. I subtracted their measurement, 135, from 180. Remember that this is 180. It can also be 0, but going across, that's 180, a straight line there. So when I subtract it, I needed to measure to 45. So I measured to 45, drew my dot, and connected it. But I can see this would be 90 degrees. Ooh, about there. So I know this is obtuse. So it's not 45 degrees. What measurement am I going to write here? 135 degrees. All right. On the other side, I want you to practice. You're drawing all these different angles, and then make sure you check with somebody. Do your angles look the same? Switch papers and let you measure someone else's angles that they've drawn. You have them measure your angles just to check them. If it's supposed to be obtuse and the way you go gives you numbers that are less than 90, then you're going to subtract the measurement from 180. Or if it's supposed to be acute and the numbers you see as you're trying to measure it, because of the way you made your rate go, are more than 90, subtract it from 180 and you'll see it. You'll know which measurement to use. Go through and decide, are these acute or obtuse? Write that down first and then draw your angle, because that will give you a really good idea of what your angle should look like. All right? Practice with those and check them with a partner.